Hello, class. It's Professor Watzak again. How are you doing? Um, it's good to see you all. Welcome to week 5, the social construction of gender. As you can see from week 5, we are actually moving on to new material. In our prior weeks 1 through 4, we were discussing systems of privilege, and we used as examples particularly ones based on different ethnicities and skin colors within the United States. And we began that discussion with considerations of all men are created equal, which is a sentence, as you recall, from the Declaration of Independence. And we expanded that to are all people created equal within the United States. How are we doing with that now? How do we implement that? And what is the status of people's equality within the United States, their treatment, their rights? And this week, in week 5, we're moving on to the social construction of gender. And this is kind of another step forward with our consideration of the system of privilege, because there are systems of privilege based on sex, gender, sexual orientation, and that also is acknowledged in our civil rights law and policy in the United States, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, in fact, which helped protect the civil rights of people based on skin color, ethnicity, religion, and also sex and gender. And now it's been added sexual orientation. So it is just another step forward in our discussion of how people are treated in the United States and in the world. We're focusing, of course, on our experience here in the United States, but um, we can remember at the same time that while we have social systems here in the United States, they vary across the world, because different countries have different laws and different social practices and different social constructions of gender as well. All right, so in our week, if you can see here, this is the announcements page, and it's got our daily schedule laid out. So we have the readings, which is Introduction to Sociology, chapter 12.1. And that portion, the 12.1 portion, is literally called Sex and Gender, because we will be reading about and then discussing sex and gender from that reading. And then that's the major reading for the week. And this is not from our course textbook. This I hyperlinked this. So you just can click on this link and it will take you to that Introduction to Sociology, which is a sociology textbook. And it's going to give you that very particular chapter, 12.1, or that portion of chapter 12, which is sex and gender. All right, I also included a Word document version of that, and I'll show you when we get to the lessons folder, so that you can annotate it easily, kind of like what I did with What is a System of Privilege, that article by Alan G. Johnson. I included both the hyperlink of the web version of that article as well as a Microsoft document, Word document, so that you can easily go in there and highlight and make marginal notes, whatever you need to be able to annotate and digest that material. Because this week we're writing a summary of the information that is contained in this Introduction to Sociology, chapter 12.1, Sex and Gender. So in order to write a summary, it's good for you to have your own annotations in the document, because that will mark the key points of what that 12.1 chapter covers. And of course, that is what a summary is. It is writing down what something is about. And when you write down what something is about, you're writing down the key points, the major concepts, the terms, the definitions, possibly examples, history, whatever are the most important points of the piece that you are summarizing. In other words, telling me what it's about. And when you are summarizing, you're purely just telling me the major points of what something is about. You're not infusing that account with your own ideas about something. You're not putting your opinions in there or your thoughts or your connections to other things. It's just telling me exactly what's in that chapter, but not word for word, but a shortened version of what's in there, an abbreviated version, kind of like, here are the main points. Here is the Cliff Notes version, in other words, of what something is about. That is what a summary is. And I have, if you look down here, In the video section, I have 2 videos that should help you not only understand the textbook when you read it, that Introduction to Sociology, Chapter 12.1, Sex and Gender portion, but also how to summarize it. So if you want to first read How to Read Your Textbooks More Efficiently, which is a College Info Geek video on YouTube, you'll click that, and that will not only help you better understand this Introduction to Sociology, Chapter 12.1, Sex and Gender, but it will also hopefully help you with our other course textbook, Intersections, and also any textbook actually you encounter in college here or elsewhere, or even in work. Sometimes you have to read some heavy-duty nonfiction training manuals or other types of materials, scientific articles, things like that, or whatever it is that you might have to read for your work and for your schooling. This How to Read Your Textbooks More Efficiently video should be able to help you understand and digest that material better. Now then, after watching that, you'll want to click on Summarizing Nonfiction, which is by Khan Academy. I love Khan Academy. They do great free educational videos for students in all grades, kindergarten through 12th grade, and then on into college. And here we are in college, even graduate school. So great resource, Khan Academy, and they're all free. I just clicked on it, in fact. I'm going to go back, though. That's the Khan Academy Summarizing Nonfiction video. And this will be great for you to learn how to summarize for the summary that you'll be writing. And if you look right here, it says like summary is like a retelling, but shorter, and it's in your own words. You're not going to be using quotations. I mean, you could put in a quotation, like if you were to, like, for example, provide a key term and then there's a short definition, you might want to put that in there so that you have all that definition all ready to go, that quotation of it, in case you're writing an essay later on. And of course, everything we do here, all the writings we do in all these weeks that lead up to our essays, they're all preparatory writings. In other words, they're writings that get you to start thinking and digesting material, committing it to memory, making connections, and literally providing words that you could later on use in your essay. It's going to stimulate ideas and stimulate thought, stimulate writing that you can later on either put literally into your essay, or at least use it as a jumping off point to move on to other ideas that you want to include in your essays. All right, let's move back to our lesson here. And this is a really fun thing that we're going to do. We talked about how we're reading this chapter, and we've got the videos that will help you how to read your textbooks more efficiently, summarizing nonfiction. We will also watch this definition of gender video, which is by Kamala Basin. She is a poet, actually, but she's talking about gender here. Pretty interesting. And again, it's going off these concepts that you'll be learning about in Introduction to Sociology, like what is sex, what is gender, what's the difference? The hook to that Introduction to Sociology chapter is actually saying, hey, what is the difference between sex and gender? Have you ever been asked, what is your sex? Or what is your gender? And can there be different answers to those questions? Well, sociologists would say yes. From the 1950s and onward, they have been distinguishing between those two concepts, sex and gender. One deals with physiological, kind of like body parts, and maybe also your genetic code, XX versus XY chromosomes. And sometimes we get XXY. There are all sorts of things in the gamut of nature. And then the other one, gender, deals with what's in here. What do you feel like? Do you feel more male? Do you feel more female? Do you feel like both? And those ideas of what maleness and femaleness are come from the social construction of gender. It is the associations that our society make with being male, with being female, with being both. That is the sociological concept of gender. Okay, and so those are the differences between sex and gender. And then that chapter goes on to talk about sexual orientation, which is another step beyond just the physical manifestation of sex and the sociological / psychological manifestation of gender. It is actually the people that we are attracted to. That's sexual orientation. Are we attracted to men, to women, to both, to everything, to every sort of iteration of man and woman, whether that be transgender or transsexual or transvestite or a combination of any of those. There's so many different variations on that gamut of sexuality and gender and orientation in our society. So it's an interesting read and should be stimulating, full of thought, because we've had a lot of talk about this in recent years with the passage of the marriage for all adults in our society by the Supreme Court. So previously, there was marriage was limited between a man and a woman, and then more recently, the Supreme Court said, you know what, any adult can get married. Only two. I mean, you can't have more than two get married at a time, just one person to another person, but it can be any sort of sex, gender, or orientation marrying. So that's been in the forefront of our public discussion in more recent years, as well as public figures you'll see. For example, Caitlyn Jenner. Used to be Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner. So we've had some surgeries there, and we've had come out a discussion of, hey, I might have been born this sex, but I feel like this gender. And so sometimes surgery is used to move the sex to the appropriate gender, and other times, not. Same with orientation and even, transvestite dressing and things like that, may match with sex with gender and may not, may involve more than one sex and gender and orientation set there. All right, so let's scroll down. Now here's a really fun activity we're going to be doing. It's called the Open Sex Role Inventory, and that is a test. Now, nothing you need to stress about, nothing you need to memorize for. It is a test, like an interactive personality test that's based on sex and gender questions. So you will answer these questions based on your own associations. All right. So first take the test and provide answers that you feel are accurate according to your feelings and your thoughts. All right. And then see what it comes up with based on that, what the results are. And then take it a couple more times and change your answers a little and see how the results will vary based on different answers you provide. And then you're going to analyze the different answers it provides, and then examine the assumptions you feel the inventory test is making, and the results that come from those assumptions. All right. So we're going to be discussing all of that in if we scroll down here, you'll see the discussion board. How do gender roles work in everyday life? How was your experience with the Open Sex Role Inventory? That is our discussion forum for this week. And you will be discussing gender roles and their application and interaction in everyday life here in America. And you can even talk about elsewhere, other countries. And also you're going to talk about how your experience was with the Open Sex Role Inventory. And if you go onto the discussion forum over here, you can also get to it through, our week 5 lesson. You're going to see the specific questions. All right. I'm going to click on that. And we will see what's specifically entailed in this assignment. Oh, whoops. I went to the form itself and not to the questions. Go back to week 5. That's where we get it. Click into that. And we are going to click on the forum. Oh, I went back to the actual form itself where we post and not to the questions. Hold on. Maybe we'll get back there. Here we are, week 5, and scroll down. And here we go. You see here are the week 5 readings, here are the week 5 videos, and here's, of course, the virtual class that you need to attend. If you're not attending that, you have to do the 3-paragraph summary by watching the recording of this week, one of this week's 2 sessions. And then this down here is the summary assignment Dropbox, which is where you'll submit your summary. And then back up here is the gender role and open sex role inventory discussion forum. And here are the questions. How do gender roles work in everyday life? You need to refer to specific terms and concepts from the week's reading, from this chapter, the 12.1 Sex and Gender chapter, and the Kamala Basin definition of gender. video, and then discuss your experience with the open rule sex inventory, including, the several experiences, the one where you did the accurate answers and the one where you played with it and got different results. So thank you. That's this week. Have fun.